Hey guys, well, welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show. We give you all the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Leading off the show today is Mark Ellis.
Welcome one and all to the best movie news show in the entire galaxy. On today's episode of Movie Talk, we talk about those Justice League numbers. Quentin Tarantino's next flick has landed somewhere, and The Incredibles and A Wrinkle in Time both get trailers. Happy Monday to everybody. Hope you all had a great weekend. Ashley, who's joining me today?
Also here is Jon Schnepp.
Had an action-packed weekend. Went to Slashback Video. If you missed out, you missed out, baby. Saw Lady Bird, Kickstarter funded. What's up?
What is Slashback Video?
It was a really cool little, it was like a VHS store, like an old school, like 80s store with all horror movies.
Really?
Yeah. You'll have to check out my Instagram to see what's up.
Perri Nemiroff, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, hi. I'm very jealous. I've been meaning to go and still haven't gotten the chance.
And it closed yesterday. It was the last day.
Well, I will just live through that one photo that you posted and pretend like I experienced it.
I have at least 20 photos that I'm posting, so I haven't even had time.
Can I just Photoshop my head on your body and pretend I went? Does that make any sense?
That would be weird. I've got a very large head. You've got a smaller head than mine, so it would look weird.
Well, the reason why Perri and I were not able to go to Slashback Video this weekend is because we were enjoying the nuptial ceremony of Cody Hall, ladies and gentlemen. Cody got married this weekend. Very excited about it. We're sure that Cody is not watching from Ireland right now. So congratulations, my man. It was a beautiful ceremony, beautiful groom and bride. I was passable, and Josh McCouga wore a suit that didn't embarrass anybody. So a good time was had by all. Perri, we made it. It was a good time.
We did. It was beautiful, and Cody looked so happy. Like, I will never forget how happy he looked.
And in correlation with our first story, on top of the cake, like usually, you know, on top of the cake, you have like the groom and the bride. You had like a bride, and then you had a Batman. So it was actually Marissa got to marry Batman. Who knew that he was that thin in real life? But
could have sworn he was Spider-Man.
Yeah, well, you know, it's Cody's a man of mystery, and right now he's at Skellig Michael Island training with the rest of the Jedi. So in the meantime, we are going to talk about the box office report for this past weekend. How'd Justice League do?
Ooh, well, Justice League finally debuted over the weekend in over 4,000 theaters, and in doing so, fell far short of industry expectations. The movie took the #1 spot with an estimated $96 million, far below the projected $120 some outlets pegged for its opening. Wonder took the #2 spot with an estimated $27 million, while Thor Ragnarok took the #3 spot with an estimated $21.7 million for a domestic total just shy of $250 million. Daddy's Home took the #4 spot with an estimated $14.8 million, and Murder on the Orient Express rounds out the top 5 with an estimated $13.8 million. Mark, thoughts on Justice League $96 million opening weekend?
I have a lot of thoughts. Let's get to the rest of the box office real quick. Congratulations to Wonder, $27 million. That is very impressive. You do have some star power there with Julia Roberts, Owen Wilson, and it's a really heartwarming story. It's a nice emotional journey, and it's got a lot more elements to it than I thought it might. But now we get to the big story. And Schnepp, I'm sure that there's 1,000 reasons why Justice League did not perform better at the box office. Before we get into those individual ones, why do you think that it made so much less than the industry and experts were predicting, and it made $37 million less opening weekend than Suicide Squad?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's pretty sad, but I'd have to say that it's because of the critics. That's what I would say is, I mean, honestly, like, I know a lot of people were very excited to see it a week ago, and then there was such a brouhaha made about these, you know, holding back numbers, this and that, you know, when it's like, really, you got to go see movies to make up your own mind, and I still believe that. It's like, I'll listen to a bunch of different critics, but there's plenty of films that I've seen that I'm in total opposite of, even the critics that I respect and usually am on their side with. So for something like this, it's like, it's obvious that people made their choice without even reading the reviews. They just looked at a number and were like, oh, it's not good. And that's how I feel about it. That coupled with all the Ben Affleck news of, like, you know, is he going to be Batman? It's like, is this movie even worth seeing if Batman's not going to be Batman? It's like, it's not good publicity. Then triple that down with the fact that the marketing campaign was kind of like messed up, I think, personally. They should have had Superman front and center. I mean, honestly, like, I'm not in charge of Warner Brothers marketing department, but you know, the people who worked on John Carter of Mars somehow got in charge of Justice League, if you ask me. It's a bungled campaign.
Perri, it seems like there's a lot of different fatigue going on in this universe right now. And it's not just with superhero movies, because I don't think that there is superhero fatigue, even though Thor Ragnarok did come out a couple weeks before that, and it still is doing very well. If you look at fatigue from a marketing campaign, or maybe people are just tired of seeing these DCU movies not have great returns critically or with Rotten Tomatoes, Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad, and now Justice League. Was this just a matter of audiences saying, you know what, we don't want to go see another movie and possibly be let down?
I think it was a little of everything, and I would never just fully blame critics, because I do think that clearly with the amount that Justice League did make, there's a big contingent of fans out there who are going to turn out to see this movie no matter what. What I think that $96 million amount means is that maybe they're hitting the point where they're starting to alienate everybody else, and really this is just a guess, because obviously I can't speak for everybody out there, but, you know, folks see BVS and they don't like it and the reviews aren't that good. The same thing happened with Suicide Squad. Yes, Wonder Woman did turn that around, but there's no denying that when you look at Justice League, I think you might be more inclined to associate it with BVS, and that might have turned folks off. The fact that the reviews were on the lower side couldn't have helped, and also the fact that Thor Ragnarok did get very good reviews and made a lot of money, that could have hurt it also. I think if you had taken Thor Ragnarok out of the equation, or maybe had given it a wider space between that and Justice League, maybe just some folks out there who are at home and trying to figure out, you know, where do I spend my money? Maybe they would have spent their money on Thor Ragnarok a couple months ago and then also spent their money on Justice League. So for all I know, that could affect it down the line, where once there's a little breathing room between Justice League and Thor, maybe they'll go back and see it again. But it's a sad number to look. It bums me out, because when I was hearing all these predictions, the tracking numbers leading up to the release, I kept saying to myself, I think it's going to be a little higher, because one, I really do think the movie is fun, and I think that the 2-hour runtime is going to serve it well with repeat viewing. So I kept going a little higher than the prediction, and I was shocked when I saw this headline.
Yeah, I don't think this is an audience awareness issue where sometimes a marketing campaign can be mishandled and we don't let the mass people know that there's a movie coming out that has all these characters in it. I saw a lot of Justice League ads, I think maybe as far as promoting the film, on the stars. Ben Affleck, it keeps being very wishy-washy about whether he's going to be back as Batman or not. I don't think that helps anything. But Schnepp, this movie has Batman and Wonder Woman. I didn't think we would see a day when a Batman movie in this time and age opens to under $100 million. It stars Batman and Wonder Woman. Suicide Squad had a bunch of no-name characters, some big stars, but this movie had big stars too. How do you account for that big of a difference? The Suicide Squad number to me is the most shocking one, and that's where I really compare it and say this is a disappointment. Any way you slice it, $96 million is a huge letdown for Justice League. Batman v Superman, $166 million. That movie opened in March, and it didn't have a whole lot of competition leading up to it. Like Perri mentioned, Thor Ragnarok a couple weeks ago. If that's what you spent your comic book going dollar on, I can understand some people not wanting to see Justice League right away, but Batman and Wonder Woman were in this.
Well, once again, I mean, honestly, it really comes down to just the overwhelming amount of criticism that the movie got from a lot of people who are just, you know, look, a lot of the critics didn't like it. A lot of people were maybe more aware of certain things than if the general audience, like, you know, that Henry Cavill's mustache was digital. So the minute that you read like half the reviews that are out there, they're complaining about a digital mustache because they knew about it ahead of time going in, so they're looking for the flaws. So usually when you go in to see any movie, you're not going in to look at how crappy the flaws are. You go in to see the movie for what the movie is. So I feel like, unfortunately, Justice League was hobbled by a lot of problems in its production. Zack Snyder being replaced by Joss Whedon, the entire tone of the movie being changed after it was already shot. A lot of situations lead to a movie that has a lot of uneven scenes in it. the movie in by no way, shape, or form, to me at least, is a failure in any way. It's a fun, exciting film, taken for what it is with all those characters in the film. You can't help but walk away and say, I want to see another Justice League movie.
Well, do y'all think that we're going to have better week to week than we have had with some previous movies in the DCU, or do you think that this opening weekend number is really a sign that it's going to start dipping pretty quick?
Yeah.
I think Perry thinks yes. I find it hard to say that it'll make $100 million this Thanksgiving. I don't think so. I don't know if it's going to drop 56 or 70%. My guess is
not with a holiday weekend.
Yeah, my
it
guess
does
is
have that working in its favor.
Yeah, it might not drop as hard as you would think. I think it'll probably pull in another 70, maybe 75 million. And I think a lot of people are waiting to see what their friends would say. So the people who all listen to the critics, and unfortunately a lot of people really got down. That's how my opinion is like people are on the fence. And then those reviews dropped on Wednesday and Thursday because most of those tickets were people who are going to go see it. Those were already bought before any of the reviews ever came out. Those advanced tickets. So I'm not talking about the sweaties. I'm talking about the regular audience. And they were like, well, I guess I'm going to wait till Netflix because of all these bad reviews.
That's right. Ashley, you have one reason that I'm going to give you to say why Justice League did not do as well as Wonder Woman, any of the DCU movies thus far, even though it has these huge name characters in it. What would you pin it on?
Well, I do want to agree with Perry saying that Thor, just the release date is really close, and you're kind of dividing the money that you could possibly make. And I also think that there's no name in the title that your average movie-going audience is going to recognize. Like my mom and dad, if they're going to the movie theaters, they're not going to see Justice League and know who's in that movie, honestly. And I know that Avengers did obviously amazingly well. Suicide Squad did better. So I don't know how that happened, but I think that it has to do a lot with a name that is not recognizable movie-going audience.
Perri and Schnepp, last question I want to throw to you guys before we move on is, do you think that this 93, we're getting some reports that it might be as low as 93 or 94 once we actually adjust everything and have the final tally. Do you think that this number is so low that we need to reboot everything? We need to scrap it all? Or do you think that we can actually recover from this with the current crop of actors and actresses?
I sure hope not, because I honestly walked out of Justice League saying, I want more of this and this and this that you gave me in this movie and that you've been spending years of time to build towards. So I really hope that's not the case. There really is no doubt in my mind when you consider how much money they're going to have to make with this movie that is going to be a severely steep climb now, that they need to rethink what they're going to do in the very near future. And, you know, when you look at something like a cinema score, it's a similar thing with a Rotten Tomatoes aggregate. You don't want to take it to heart too much, but the way that cinema scores are figured out, it's from the people who wanted to be first to see it, the people who saw it Friday night. So the fact that that cinema score was a B+, and I know that doesn't sound very low, but most cinema scores do veer towards the higher end of that range. It does have me a little concerned for it having as long legs as, let's say, Wonder Woman, which I believe had like an A, but I hope Thanksgiving gives it a boost, and I hope that Warner Brothers and DC don't abandon some of the really great things they've established thus far, because that would be a shame.
I'm glad my parents are more lenient than you as far as scores go. If I bring home a B+, that's a celebration day in the Ellis household. Schnepp, do we need to reboot everything? Are we going to be okay?
I don't think anything has to get rebooted. I think, you know, obviously Ben Affleck's not going to play Batman anymore. That's a done deal. You know, we don't want to hear any more about it. I'm so tired of it.
But even if he does return as Batman, say, for Justice League 2 or some other iteration, is it doing more harm than good now because he continues to be so non-committal and doesn't seem like he wants to promote the movie? Shouldn't you get a Batman that actually wants to be doing the Tonight Show and the Late Show and all these things to really let the audience know there's a movie coming out?
Yeah, I think Jake Gyllenhaal is a good pick. I mean, a lot of the names have heard being bandied about are all fine. Obviously, Aquaman's already in the can. That's done. I trust James Wan, trust Patty Jenkins for Wonder Woman 2. I'd love to see Flashpoint and see all that kind of like rebootable, universe-changing stuff happen in Flashpoint before we get a Justice League of America. It's really easy to rebrand Justice League. Just call it JLA or Justice League United or, you know, Justice League Unlimited. There's been plenty. Just go by the cartoons and you can see different ways that you could do it. I'm not worried about the future DC films. I would like to see a change of the guard as far as the producers of the Warner Brothers DC universe. I think they've done a crappy job at putting out all of these films. They've done everything backwards, and they haven't listened to any of the actual real criticism of, hey, why don't you do this or why don't you do that, from the people who actually read comic books or go to see these movies. You got to listen to your fan base. You were wrong in so many of the things that you did. So now it's just coming home to roost.
That's right. You want a real test of Justice League staying power. So it still made over $90 million. Here's why you sneeze out of those, because I think Perri pointed out the production budget of this thing started to balloon, especially when you have such extensive and expensive reshoots where you're doing a bulk of the movie after you thought it was already going to be done. So you have to make that much more money. It did open very well in China. I think it had the second biggest opening for the DCU in China, just under Batman v Superman. So internationally, I think the movie can pull in some good numbers. But here's what you really have to pay attention to is that this weekend, you got a holiday weekend. It's Thanksgiving. The only other movie that's going to be in wide release that I think could give Justice League some competition is Coco, which is great. Y'all should see that. I really like Justice League too. Y'all should see that if you haven't checked it out yet. Suicide Squad. In its second weekend, after doing $133 million the first weekend of August, it made $43.5 million, which was a nice number for a second weekend, 67% drop. How much of a drop are we going to get with Justice League?
As much as I love box office predictions, the one thing that screws me up more than anything is when you factor in a holiday weekend.
The 5-day week.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even not the 5-day week, but just the fact that people are off, so there might be more people seeing movies in that given weekend. I mean, taking that into account, I think it could come as low as like 40%. Because really, when you think about Coco, there's not all that much direct competition in Coco. I think Wonder's going to hold over really, really strong. Coco's probably going to open, off the top of my head, something like 60 million. So I think Justice League has a good shot of holding on real strong this weekend. It's next weekend that I'd be concerned about.
Yeah, I think it won't see anything less than a 70% drop. I don't think
on a holiday weekend, though?
Yeah, it's not going to drop that far.
You mean a 30%?
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's what I mean.
Okay,
the opposite.
okay.
Yeah, 30%.
Numbers are hard.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll give you that because I was playing within that range.
No. Yeah, no. Opposite of what I was. Yeah, I think most of the people who might have been like hesitant about seeing Justice League because of all the crappy reviews, who still wanted to go see it, are going to see it over the Thanksgiving Day weekend, and you're going to enjoy it. That's how I feel about it. Don't get all worked up about like Henry Cavill's mustache. It's barely noticeable. People are weird.
Was it the mustache? Was it the reshoots? Was it just a little bit of fatigue of the DCU? We're not sure. Let's see how it plays out this weekend. We're pulling for you, Justice League. Some of us really liked you. All right, let's move on to the next story.
Deadline reports that the bidding war for Quentin Tarantino's next movie is officially over, and Sony has landed the rights to distribute. Details about the deal, according to THR, point out that Tarantino demanded a budget of $93 million to get the 1960s set project made, along with back-end points and immense creative control, as well as final cut. The film will be another Tarantino-esque view on history, specifically Los Angeles in the late 60s, with Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, and Leonardo DiCaprio all being mentioned for the two lead male roles. Additionally, Tarantino has his eye on Margot Robbie to play the late Sharon Tate, who was murdered by Manson's cult. Perri, not Christian. Thoughts on Tarantino's next film going to Sony?
You had me at creative control. I love the sound of that when you apply it to a Quentin Tarantino movie, because when he does things his way, which is pretty much always, we end up with a great track record. So I'm glad that he found a home for it that gives him that kind of arrangement. I mean, really, why wouldn't they? Any studio would have been lucky to have a project like this, because when you consider Tarantino and the cast that he tends to amass and the quality of his films overall, it's going to serve the studio well come award season of whatever year they wind up releasing this thing. But I'm really excited about how everything's shaping up, and it's oddly timely right now, given what happened. But with the cast that he's lining up, it's a lot of people I'm really excited about right now. At the top of my list is probably Margot Robbie, just because I just saw I, Tonya, and wow, am I excited to see her just really show what she's capable of, because she is something else in that movie. And that movie has a really unique blend of comedy but drama that respects the true story, and she worked that really well. So Quentin Tarantino paired with Margot Robbie right now, and him getting to do what he wants to do at Sony, yeah, I'm sold.
Yeah, if you guys didn't hear the news yesterday, Manson, the real guy, kicked the bucket. There's your obituary, Snelling. For this movie, I think that Sony's a great landing spot because Tarantino has a great relationship with them from previous works. Like we mentioned, Django Unchained. The distribution of Sony, not just domestically but internationally, really helped those numbers. And so Tarantino, at the end of the day, I think that he's an artist and somebody who wants his film to succeed and get that into as many theaters as possible. Rothman at Sony clearly has the best strategy for that. After last week, I was ready to say that it was going to go to Warner Brothers because when he pulls up to the lot, they have everything in late 60s, early 70s look, and it's like, how much money did Warner Brothers spend on just trying to woo Quentin Tarantino? But I think that this relationship from the past was a little too solid, and it's good news for Sony, Schnepp.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Sony definitely needs some hits to be happening. So with this, yeah, the only person who's not going to be seeing it is Manson. So I'm very happy, and I think Tarantino probably bonded. We've heard that him and Rothman are both cinephiles, so they got into that '60s flavor. They talked about different ways that they would promote the film. So I mean, you got to give Tarantino total control, and that's what they gave him. Plus a giant wad of cash, plus some back end. So he's got all that flavor. So I'm excited to see the film. I'm glad it's with a good studio. Awesome.
Awesome, and we move on to buy or sell. This is a part of the show where Ashley's going to give us a premise. We'll say whether we buy it or sell it with money that we saved from not seeing Justice League. That's just a joke. I saw the movie twice. I really enjoyed it. Did you see it, Justice League? Yeah.
I didn't, because the 3D showings don't work with my movie pass, and all they had was 3D showings. I don't even like 3D showings anyway, so I'm going to wait for 2D. I'll add to next week's box office then.
If only you could just dip into that sweet, sweet tax refund that you got. And
Oh,
just
you
use
mean the
some real...
$2,000 they owe on top of like the $10,000 they already paid?
All right, I might be doing your taxes this year.
Tax reform.
We'll handle it. Don't worry. We got some bylaws I can look into. All right, what's our first buy/sell?
Disney Pixar has released the first teaser for Incredibles 2. The upcoming film will pick up after the events of the first movie, with the official synopsis revealing that the movie will focus more on Helen Parr/Elastigirl as Bob/Mr. Incredible stays home to raise Jack. The film also added via the tracking board the voices of Bob Odenkirk and Catherine Keener will join returning voices Craig T. Nelson, Holly Hunter, and Samuel L. Jackson. The movie is set for release on June 15, 2018. Schnepp, buy or sell the first teaser for The Incredibles 2?
Well, you got to buy Odenkirk and Keener right off the bat. They're both legends, actors, as well as you could just instantly tell their voice. So that's always a plus. And yeah, the sneak peek that I saw, I didn't get to see the 1123 or B23 or whatever thing that Ellis is D23, whatever. Who cares, Ellis? You saw like an extra 5 seconds. Who cares?
It was a lot more than 5 seconds.
You saw like an extra minute. Whatever. I don't care. Obviously, I do care. No, but you know what? The teaser's just enough for us regular people who didn't get to go to 1127 or whatever that Ellis went to see an extra 4 seconds of Mr. Incredible. Whatever, Ellis. Why don't you tell us about what you saw?
1127 is just a date. That's just a weird...
Z5, whatever it's called.
BMW M3 is where I saw The Incredibles. This past summer at D23, they had a whole scene that we got to see, and parts of that scene were taken and placed into this teaser. So as disappointed as I am that the rest of y'all don't get to experience what I've seen already from this movie, it's fun. It's a nice teaser. I would have liked to have seen more than just like a baby stumbling around in this weird red studio and then a little bit of Mr. Incredible at the end. It was funny. Don't get me wrong. I like the teaser. It is a teaser. I don't want to be the guy that complains we didn't get enough in a teaser, because we're going to get more as we ramp up closer to the release date. I'm just disappointed for you guys. For me, I'm going to buy it. It's an announcement for The Incredibles. It got some giggles out of everybody, so more power to it. I would imagine this runs in front of Coco this weekend at theaters, so people are going to get excited when they see. Perri, do you think that not only do you buy or sell, but do you think that this is enough of a, hey, we remember what The Incredibles is? Did we have to ingratiate the audience once again with what exactly this story entails?
It was crossing my mind because I was trying to think about what someone who isn't already obsessed with The Incredibles might think of something like this, and I think that's where the benefit of the hype that's around any superhero property right now comes in. It doesn't matter if you know The Incredibles. all you see is a dad and a baby with superpowers, and you're just like, oh, like, what is going to happen with this relationship right here? But as a massive fan of The Incredibles, this is a huge buy for me. Yes, I am jealous that you saw that stuff at D23. I wish I got more out of this teaser trailer, but I think this was an extremely smart, effective way to start this promotional campaign. Yes, they're going to play it before Coco, and I think everybody, whether you're a fan or not, you're going to have a lot of fun with it. And I love the way that it teases the story, because obviously we know in the first Incredibles, it's about them all going on a big mission together. And I think that's the perfect way to continue this franchise if, at least at the start of the film, they're focused on him staying at home dealing with Jack Jack, because that Jack Jack attack short is a lot of fun. Yeah. So if you could tap into that while putting Bob back into the scenario, and then seeing the family come together to fight whoever, and I'm dying to know who this villain is, because Syndrome is something else. So I want to see what they do in that department also, but I am freaking thrilled.
Okay, hearing Perri talk about it, clearly we didn't need to win her over. She's pretty inundated with the world of The Incredibles already. Ashley, are you as familiar with this movie? Do you think the public at large is going to see this trailer and say, oh, I remember that was a movie? Or do you think they're going to be like, yes, I've been waiting for this since 2004?
It's crazy to me that it's been that long, because it still feels so relevant. I don't know if it's because I work with you guys every day, but like I remember this movie like it was just yesterday. But I think that, well, I guess from what I remember from the movie, because it's been so long since I've seen it, we knew that Jack Jack had powers, right? Like that's how the movie ended. That was kind of like a...
Got some hints, some winks, some nods.
Yeah. So I do like that this appeals to audiences that maybe haven't seen the movie, but I'm excited for it. It looks cute.
Yeah, I'll buy the trailer, and I will also buy the addition of Catherine Keener and Bob Odenkirk.
Yeah.
That movie's going to be dynamite when it opens. Our next story is about a movie we don't have a teaser yet for, but sounds like we want to see one.
THR reports that Constantine Films, the company behind the Resident Evil movie series, has picked up the film rights to Danger Girl, the hit 1990s comic book, and is developing the title with Jeremy Bolt's Bolt Pictures and Adrian Escaria's Prime Universe Films to produce film and television shows. Danger Girl follows the adventures of Abby Chase and was a blend of Indiana Jones, James Bond, and Charlie's Angels, becoming an instant hit when it debuted in 1998 from Jim Lee's Wildstorm imprint. A release date has not been set. Perri, buy or sell a movie based on Danger Girl?
It is a light buy just because I'm not familiar with the source material at all. But when I read this thing and it says dangerous young female characters but with humor and spectacular action, yeah, that sounds great. But I don't really know a lot of the creatives involved in this yet. And until you at least announce a director and I can start to picture what their vision might be for this, or maybe when I start digging into the comic book a little, I'll get a little more excited and confident in it. But I was just Googling around and I came across an article that Collider did in 2011, and it said that it was some sort of rumor that Kate Beckinsale, Mila Jovovich, and Sofia Vergara were going to maybe star in the movie. So when I know that's not the case now, but if I start to apply that to this, I could see how it could be a lot of fun. So it's a light buy for me for now.
Yeah, Schnepp, like Hitman, I think that there was a video game that was spawned from the source material where Abby Chase, like the read said, kind of a mix of Indiana Jones, a little bit of James Bond thrown in there. Yeah. So if you're globetrotting, you're having some fun, I'd be all for this movie. And this story itself might lend itself to a 1 or a 2 hour film a little bit better than, say, even something like Hitman, which now is going to be a TV series. So while Hitman might be better for that long form, I think here, if you have a movie that's trying to launch a franchise, ideally, it sounds like it's a pretty good first foot to get out on.
Most definitely. I would call this 3 atomic blondes. So check it out. Like I've read Danger Girl from when it first came out. J. Scott Campbell, amazing comic book. It's a Danger Diabolique, all these different like super spy movies with beautiful women, incredible explosions, car chases, action sequences. This is the kind of movie that's been dying to be made. So thanks, Adrian, you weirdo, for finally getting this film sold. Adrian's a pal. So, yeah, I mean, you know what? I mean, look, this has the potential to be incredible. So it's a big buy for me.
Yeah, so we're going to give it a buy. Ashley, you buying this? You think Danger Girl's going to be taking what Charlie's Angels did and just make it a little more modernized?
I mean, sure. I don't really know much about the source material, but I mean, based off of that scandalous picture, I like Danger, so give it a buy.
Were you talking about scandalous as far as the artwork or Adrian's open shirt?
A little bit of...
You mean that incredible artwork?
Look at that.
That's amazing. I wonder who's going to be cast as, I mean, that lady right in front and center. I mean, I mean, I'm getting a little bit distracted by certain elements in this photo.
Are you distracted by the beautiful Adrian Ascaro?
I like the button. It reminds me of I like the down button. You know?
Yeah. I'm a fan of the.
I'm still distracted by something else. I don't know.
The V-neck presentation is something.
Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Adrian's a buddy. He's been on the show before, so congrats, Adrian. Rooting for Danger Girl. We will see it when it comes out. Our last buy or sell involves a film we actually do have a teaser for.
Yes.
Because we went to a different time period.
A new trailer and poster has been revealed for Disney and Ava DuVernay's A Wrinkle in Time. The highly anticipated movie follows Meg Murray, her brilliant brother Charles Wallace, and their friend Calvin on an unexpected journey into alternate dimensions to bring home their father, played by Chris Pine. Mindy Kaling, Reese Witherspoon, and Oprah Winfrey star as Mrs. Who, Mrs. Watson, and Mrs. Witch, three celestials who help Meg on her journey. The movie is set to hit theaters on March 8, 2018. Mark, buy or sell the new trailer and poster for A Wrinkle in Time.
Big buy for me. This looks like a family adventure extravaganza. I like everything that I see in here. We're off on an adventure. I appreciate the kids, which I usually don't. So the kids are in this flick, and I buy their acting ability. I buy that they're going to be the ones taking me on this story. We're going to get to see a lot of fun, quirky characters. Oprah, Mindy, and Reese, they all look tremendous as the Wrinkleses. I don't know what you call them in the thing, but they're... It looks like something that I probably should have read now.
I'm just going to refer to them as the Wrinkleses now.
The Wrinklets, the Wrinkleses, the Wrinkle Wise, whatever you want to call them. I like the trailer.
Yeah, I'm going to buy it also. I'm just so excited for Ava DuVernay and just to see what she does on this scale with this kind of budget and this kind of material, because she is so incredibly talented. Obviously, if you've seen Selma and some of her other work, you know what she's capable of. But this feels so drastically different to me. I can't wait to see what she does with it. I love the look of everything in this, minus one thing, and it just happens to be dead center behind me right now. That was the only thing, this creature, that I'm like, I don't know about you. I might have to get used to you before I accept you.
You don't like Leafy?
Oh, the
character's
Wrinkleses meet Leafy.
Yeah.
That's the subtitle of this movie. Okay, I don't know how I'm going to feel about Leafy in this movie, but everything else I thought was absolutely stunning. I love the costume design. I love that young actress that plays the main character in this. I wish I could remember her name right now, but you get that feeling when you watch a tiny 2-minute, 30-second trailer. There's something about her that is so charismatic and captivating. I can't wait to see this in March.
Jon Schnepp, you making it 3 buys on the table?
I am buying all 3 of the Wrinkledits, and except for their kind of like strangely weird hairstyles. But I mean, look, the trailer's enough for me to buy it. I love that sequence where all the kids are like bouncing the basketball. I was like, can that please be like 10 minutes of the movie? No, I don't want it to be 10 minutes of the movie. But you know what? It's a good trailer. Check it out.
Ashley, you got a lot of zany characters we're going to meet in these weird time. Here's what I liked about this trailer is that I actually believe the science. I actually believe that that there's like wrinkles that you can kind of penetrate in time and then go. So I don't know why. I don't know why I swim like a dolphin when I get excited about wrinkles in time. But maybe there's something out there like this.
You guys, I think I'm going to be my own little haters corner. And I don't know. I think I'm going to sell this. I think I'm going to sell it. I think it's visually stunning. I do like the story, but it almost felt like I was watching 2 trailers. Every time it would cut to like Oprah Winfrey, Reese Witherspoon, and Mindy Kaling, I felt like I was watching a different movie, and it almost like didn't fit into the story.
Do you know why? Because time, right, got wrinkled. So now we're in a different.
Yeah.
Wait, Mark, you mean it got wrinkled?
It got wrinkled.
Yeah. It got.
No,
this is how you wrinkle it. Yeah. And apparently, when you wrinkle time, you go to the Macy's makeup counter and just go batshit crazy.
Yeah, you channel your inner avatar.
All sorts of zany going on. I'm really excited about this movie, though. I mean, it comes out in March.
I'm excited too. I really do. I'm excited to see it. I love the story. I will see it regardless, but I just felt like the 3 of them were a little bit distracting for me. I don't know if it's just because it's 3 well-known people that we know and this like ridiculous amount of makeup, but I just found them to be a little bit distracting and making me laugh just a little bit.
Well, we were having too good of a time today to not have somebody dampen our parade. For that, we went to Ashley Mova. We want to remind you guys, this is not the only show on Collider Video, so go ahead and subscribe right now. You guys can check out an all-new Heroes is going to be later on today.
Huh?
Oh, no, he's frozen in
time.
He got frozen in A Wrinkle in Time. I don't know if he. Oh, there you go.
I'm swimming back. Oh, I got back.
Clippered his way back to shore.
Yeah. Heroes.
Thank goodness. Check out Heroes later on today, and our top 50 superhero movies of all time keeps on at Chug when a new one dropped this morning. So check out the latest. Debate, be spirited about it, and try to keep it a little
I don't like the number that movie was at.
Love seeing you guys in the live chat as well as commenting on this vid as soon as we get it released. Want to hear your thoughts on Justice League, on all the trailers that we've been talking about today. And with that, we are going to move on to Mailbag. This is the part of the show where we hear from you guys. You can email us anytime, collidervideo@gmail.com. And don't forget, at the end of this show, we're going to take some live Twitter questions. So go ahead and start tweeting us right now at Collider Video. Ashley, what came in the mailbox over the weekend?
Well, it's from Andrew, and they write, "Hey Collider, question. Do you guys think that so much information about the behind-the-scenes production of movies is ruining some people's enjoyment or judgment when they watch them? I saw Justice League 3 times already, loved it, with different people. The ones who knew about the mustache, the 2 directors, the mandate for under 2 hours, 2-hour movie, etc., had plenty to complain because they went in looking for flaws. The ones who didn't really enjoyed and liked the movie."
Andrew, it's a great question. And speaking of Mailbag, I had the pleasure of joining our own Perri Nemiroff on this weekend's episode of Mailbags. Had fun on Saturday and Sunday, getting some sweaty, good knowledge over various topics in Mailbag. As far as this question goes, I think that it does make a lot of sense that maybe the more we know about a flick going in, the more we're going to be looking for that as opposed to just sitting back and enjoying whatever story the movie wants to tell us. But there's also something to be said for all the people that knew about the Mustache Gate and all the people that knew about the 2 directors and the mandates and all of these things. Those are also people that have been digesting Justice League news for a reason, because they really want to see Justice League, because they're hardcore fans of it. And it's a really tough task for a movie in today's day and age to please a general audience and also cater to the hardcore fans that have been loving the source material for decades on end. So you do have to hit that narrow line. And everything I'm hearing about Justice League is a lot like you, Andrew, with people who just went to go see a fun action popcorn movie, got what they wanted, and that the hardcore fans had a lot of issues with it. Perri, is that how you're seeing it play out this weekend?
It's difficult to discuss this because it came up even when we were talking about the box office and just trying to figure out why some people might have shied away from this. Really, all I can say is from my perspective, and as someone who is on this show often and is very well aware of all the problems that this movie went through, I don't know, maybe I'm just like okay at compartmentalizing when I see something, but I was able to enjoy the movie for what it was. Obviously, I'm sitting there with a critical eye because I'm doing a review of a movie, but the first thing on my mind was not, oh my God, what is Snyder? What is Whedon? Look at that mustache. I thought about it after the fact, and especially when I did go to see it a second time, because I did notice the mustache the first time around, it did not take away from my enjoyment of the film at all. But when I went back again and I was very much looking for it, yeah, I saw it all over the place. So I do try to think about that and wonder how the general movie-going public might go in. But there's really no way for me to personally predict how someone will take this news and then to apply it to their first viewing experience. And I hope they'd be able to push that aside and just enjoy the movie for what it is. But, you know, we're all human beings and we all process information different ways. So however you went into it, you have the right to do that.
See, the mustache thing didn't really bother me. Like the reshoots, I couldn't tell what was one and what was the other one. I'm such a simple monkey to please, though, Schnepp. If I get into the theater and people aren't talking when the movie starts, I'm happy. It's all ready. We can clock out. The day has been won. It is a victory. How do you feel about people knowing a little too much about the production of a flick?
Well, I'm simple like you, Mark. I don't like when people talk during movies. You'll get yelled at if it happens when I'm around. So, yeah, you know what? I think the people who knew about the mustache, I'm sorry you knew about it, because it probably made you look at every single scene of Superman, not actually be able to enjoy the film. I mean, that's just the truth of it. Like when you go in to see a movie and you have all this like behind the scenes stuff that you're looking for, it's going to detract from the actual film itself. Lots of people who didn't know anything about a mustache being on Superman or not never noticed. They never noticed it. It's like now you have people like, oh, I could see the little creases. What other mouths are you looking at for creases? Did you notice that they redid other people's faces? You probably didn't notice that either because you weren't looking for it because somebody didn't tell you about it. So I'm sorry. It's kind of like sometimes this kind of information does ruin the movie. And it could ruin the box office like it did for Justice League. This kind of like over information. Like, I can't tell which director it is. Look at the mustache. It's like it gets way too much. And unfortunately, look at what happened with Justice League. I don't think it's a bad film. It's a fun movie. Does the villain suck? Yes. Are there a lot of problems? Or was it rushed? There's certain things that were rushed or condensed into 2 hours. And guess what? I knew about that. So that's also one of those things that I knew about. I knew there were 2 different directors. I knew about the mustache. I knew it was supposed to be 2 hours and 45 minutes. I knew that there's an entire other movie that you'll never see. So it's like things like that really do hamper your enjoyment of a film. Like I just went and saw Lady Bird last night. I didn't know anything about the film. Came out a different person. What an incredible, transformative movie, a real movie that you should go see. You should also go see Justice League because it's fun.
Good points. Oh, do you get mad when fans say like, "Oh, I can't wait to see the Zack Snyder cut. I can't wait to see, what's going to happen with this?"
Oh,
because I don't think you're ever going to get that opportunity.
Dude, you're hitting it so hard, dude. Because literally, I get furious when I see that. In fact, there's an article like right before our meeting. I was mentioning to Perri, that's one of the Collider.com guys wrote this. Like, fans got to wake up. There is no Zack Snyder cut because there is no Zack Snyder cut that you're ever going to see unless Warner Brothers wants to pay another like $10 to $20 million to finish that version of the movie they didn't want to make. So you're probably gonna have to wait 5 or 10 years to see Zack Snyder's cut because it says Zack Snyder directed the film, but we all know he didn't. I mean, it's just kind of one of those things that the remnants of what Zack Snyder put together and that everything else has been changed and molded. So it truly is a different movie. Like, look, I enjoyed the movie that it was or is right now. What is the movie that Zack Snyder was making is something completely different. I'm intrigued, and I'd love to see that version. I don't think we're ever going to get it.
But, Perri, we could see an ultimate edition, especially now with the box office middling returns based on how much it costs, because $96 million, usually nothing to sneeze at, but in this case, kind of disastrous. If they have an ultimate edition Blu-ray that has a lot of extra scenes, are they going to be able to wedge that into a narrative in a pretty clean way they did with Batman v Superman's Blu-ray, or do you think it's going to be a little more hodgepodge?
It's hard to say because really we're on the outside looking in. I can make educated guesses on what they changed and what was reshot, but I don't really know. And I don't know if they're definitely going to do that. It seems likely given the fact that they did do it for BVS and people bought that and people went to see it in theaters. So I'm certainly curious to see how the movie would change. And also just from a film lover's perspective, it is an interesting case study to see how things can change, especially when a film went through a production process like this. But I can't say I was super angry when I read that article today or heard people's response or anything because, the second this news broke about the issues with the directors, I kind of saw it coming. It seemed inevitable, but I think right now with my mind, all I want to do is move on and look at Aquaman, because you were talking a little bit about the promotional campaign, and freaking Jason Momoa looks like the happiest dude in the world, and I just can't wait to see his just like infectious positivity infuse that promotional campaign and make me more hyped about Aquaman than I ever been before.
Make everybody more hyped about Aquaman. Remember when Entourage made fun of it, James Cameron's Aquaman, and it cost all that money to like. Now we have Aquaman. We're really excited about it. Just you can have this idea, Warner Brothers. When you have the Ultimate Edition of Justice League come out, you should market it like and be like in a mother box. Right?
How about
That's totally for free. You can keep it. It's on the house.
I would prefer to forget about the mother boxes. I love the New Gods, and they just misuse that so much. Why not put Superman on the goddamn cover?
With mustache?
That would be horrible.
They should have the mustache cut, and they should just put the mustache back and see if it makes the movie better.
I saw an article last night from Pop Sugar, and they said that removing the mustache made him look like Shrek, and now that's all I see. Doesn't it look like that is spot on? Shrek smile.
I do not know how in any world that makes sense.
Shrek smile? It looks identical to the mouth.
I guess I'll
you guys have to do a side-by-side comparison.
I was going to say, that's what I'm going to go look up right after this.
We'll have a lot of Googling to do. Before we get to Google, we're going to get to Twitter. We have a couple questions lined up. What's up first? Does it involve some of our favorite characters from Far, Far Away?
Wait, what?
Far, Far Away. That's
Are we doing live Twitter questions?
Yeah, that's where Shrek lives, right? The Far, Far Away.
Oh, okay.
You tripped her out. She thought about Star Wars.
I thought about Star Wars, and I thought that you had a question prepared that I wasn't aware of.
Yep. There's look, Ashley, it's not always about Star Wars, okay? If you could come to this office and not talk about Star Wars
Skellig
for one day.
Skellig Island.
We are so
Skellig
sick of you
Island.
bringing
Well,
your fanboy love for this ridiculous galaxy far, far away. There's other movies to watch.
Okay, well, on that note, Anne-Marie writes, what would you think of The Incredibles live-action adaptation directed by Zack Snyder?
No, never. Who wrote that?
Should have gone back to Star Wars.
Yeah, you probably should have kept Schnepp at bay. No, I think I'm good. We had the conversation on Mailbag, like talking about Zack Snyder's movies. The best movie, in my opinion, that Zack Snyder's ever done. I'm a huge Sucker Punch apologist, but I love the Guardians of Ga'Hoole. The Legends of the Owl movie that he did. The animated Owl movie is so awesome. I want to see Zack Snyder.
Legend of the Guardians, the Owls of Ga'Hoole.
The Hooters of Ga'Hoole. I love that movie. So I want to see Zack Snyder go back to that. I want to see Ga'Hoole Part 2.
I want to see Zack Snyder go back to a low-budget horror film like he did Dawn of the Dead, which I thought was fantastic.
Yes.
I think he's a great director, and I think he gets way too much shit for like the movies that he's done recently. Like, look, did I hate Batman v Superman, the theatrical cut? Yes. I actually like the ultimate cut, but I feel like it's a different direction that those characters should not have gone down that way. Anyway, that's way too much of a Dawn of the Dead.
Well, to that question really quick, you didn't even have to put Zack Snyder's name in there. No, I don't want to see my Pixar movies get turned into a live-action movie anytime soon, even though that's not completely out of the realm of possibility given the success Disney's having right now. But to repeat something I said on Mailbag this weekend, I don't think it's fair, some of the criticisms for Zack Snyder, because his visuals are like through the freaking roof. Yes, he's a very great visual director, but I feel like because that's so good, some are way harsher on the other elements of his film, minus Sucker Punch, which I don't really like at all. But you know what's great from Sucker Punch? The set photographer that he brings on every film, Clay Enos, which was actually one of the first things I ever covered in my career when he released that book for Watchmen. If you want like a collection of Zack Snyder's most amazing visuals, just go and buy one of those coffee table books because they're all incredible.
I have that book.
Isn't it great?
It's amazing, yeah.
All right, well, look, you don't have to like Sucker Punch if you don't want to appreciate fine cinema. Okay, let's do one more live Twitter question. Ashley, I believe this next one involves a Kessel run to Dagobah.
Stop tricking me. Okay, Chris Woodburn writes, why are some people so dependent on a Rotten Tomatoes score? If you're excited to see a film, then see the film is what I think.
I totally agree with you, Mr. Woodburn, the esteemed Christopher Woodburn, making a lot of sense because I don't let a percentage sway me on a movie. It's interesting to know. I enjoy sports. I like stats. Numbers apply to me. So I am going to be interested in what the Rotten Tomatoes score is. We had a prediction at The Office, which I think we should keep going for like other big movies that come out. But at the end of the day, I want to see a movie. I don't want to see a movie based on my own excitement level for it when I see a trailer. The trailers are still the biggest thing to me, whether it's a TV ad or it's a trailer. That's what I want to see as opposed to some number that critics say, because I might be considered a critic. I don't really care what a lot of critics have to say about movies. I love movies. I don't love movie critics. I love movies, and I enjoy some people's criticisms. Perri?
With why people might go to those numbers, I can understand why, because it's easy. It's easy to go on Rotten Tomatoes, search for the movie you might want to see, and then use that score and say, oh, so I'm not going to see that, or I'm going to see this instead. I understand why people lean towards that, but it's not going to stop me from encouraging people to not just scroll down to the score in a written article, or not just look up a letter and call it quits there, because you're not going to understand what that letter or number means unless you see the bulk of the review. So it's not reviewing movies is not math.
And also, someone could give something a 56, and you're like, oh, they must have hated it. I'll go by that. Or then you read the actual review, and you realize they think everything opposite of what you think, and you hate their score, and you hate their review. And then you listen to someone else, and they say 81, and it's exactly what you think. So you have to actually read all of the individual reviews. Aggregates don't count. It's just a number. You have to know who's talking about what. Some people might listen to somebody because they know a lot about Star Wars, and they're like, well, because I love Star Wars, these things matter, and if you're a Star Wars fan, this will matter to you. Those are the kind of things I look for critics who know what they're talking about. So you can't go by some group number thing. That's a mind thing. You got to be an individual.
Well, we have some breaking news here to close out movie talk. Henry Cavill out as Superman, in is Shrek. Look at that. You can check out the side-by-side.
You guys, that is, you guys don't look convinced at all.
Yeah,
this is identical.
I think he looks more like Donkey than Shrek.
Okay, I could see that too.
Just had to be somebody.
Somebody in Shrek's world.
You guys are crazy. I want some of the drugs you're on.
Oh, it's good stuff.
identical.
Yeah.
Good.
I mean,
Oh my
I'm
God.
not lying and saying I'm not hopped up on all sorts of substances right now.
I got some Shrekables.
That's what you do. For everybody in far, far away and from a galaxy far, far away, we want to thank you guys for tuning into Collider Movie Talk. For everybody working behind the scenes, for Ashley, Schnepp, and Perri, I am merely Mark Ellis. Once again, congratulations to Mr. Cody Hall. Enjoy your well-earned honeymoon. Cody Hall! I know that Ashley's going to yell at me if I don't ask you guys once again to take some pictures of Skellig Michael Island because she's just such a Star Wars freak. She will not shut up about it. Say hi to Ray and the Porgs for us. We'll see you guys tomorrow in another episode of Collider Movie Talk.
Skellig!
Hey everybody, Mark Ellis here. Thanks for watching this episode of Collider Movie Talk. You want to watch more? Then click up here, or you can click right here for more great content from Collider. And if you haven't subscribed to Collider Video, do so right now and share this vid with your friends. Thanks for watching.